Knock, knock. Anybody out there? Hope this thing is public. Got done running my errand, and man, it was a little longer than I expected. Trying to get this thing orientated so that it's right, and I could leave it there and not have it fall. Anybody out there, give me a thumbs up or something. Hope this thing is live. If I don't see anybody in a minute, okay, I see two people, but I don't see my chats. Let me see my chats. All right, I see chats over here coming up on the side. Yes, I'm back. Took me a little longer. I went out to take my daughter to a Christmas party so she wouldn't have to drive. Hopefully, I'll be bringing her back. And welcome. I got this, I guess, just decided to go live and answer any questions anybody has. I don't have any particular format or anything. Let me see if I could get my chats to come up on the side. Nice, Massachusetts. Okay. Pin live stream. Trying to get my chats up on the side so I can see them and they not disappear. Mm-mm-mm. I don't see how that's going to happen. Somehow it... That's a zoom. That's crazy. Let's see what happens if I hit this. Nope. That ends the live stream. Well, hopefully your chats will stay up long enough for me to read them. If somebody has a question or something like that, go ahead and ask. I'm going to try to clean the lens to see if that brings this thing in focus a little more. It seems like it's a little bit out of focus. Oh, okay. You're the one that was asking about those Neva mats, man. Neva mats are awesome, expensive speakers. I mean, struts, shocks. And I like them. I got a pair that I'm going to put on Lemonade whenever I get done with Lemonade's restoration. Just sent like 2 pair to Australia. Somebody found them in the U.S. for sale somewhere, and that company did not ship to Australia, so they had them shipped here to me, and I forwarded them to Australia. So they gave me a tip or whatever you want to call it for doing that. And hey, this is all about keeping your cars on the road, keeping them running good. I'm not aware of the modifications for those 960 suspensions that you can't get usually. You know, the 960 was my favorite car. Man, I used to drive the heck out of my 960 harder than I ever have any of my 850s. That 960 was nice. But, you know, when it gets where you can't get parts for them, you got to bail. This is my addiction. I've been addicted to chapstick since I was about 22. And, man, I prayed about it. God said he was all right with it, so I don't fret over it. I just keep using it. So I am a user of chapstick. So earlier today, I was working on my weekly update video, and I had an hour and 30 minutes or an hour and 45 minutes worth of content. Normally, after I edit that, it gets down under an hour. But I just was going through that thing and going through it, and interruptions kept coming up. I didn't get finished with it, so I'll probably get back on it early tomorrow morning before I have to start getting out and about. It's been freezing here, and man, night before last it was 18. Last night it was 24 Fahrenheit. For those of you in other countries that use Celsius, I guess 24 would be somewhere around -8 or something like that. And for some reason, the water bottles that I have in the car are not freezing. So I don't know what they're putting in today's water bottles that's in the water for it not to freeze at 18 degrees out in the car all night. Just bottles standing alone. 4 or 5 of them. Then I got like 10 of them in a case wrapping. And yeah, that kind of scares me. What are they putting in that stuff? Formaldehyde? Like, what is stopping water from freezing? Like, good Lord, that's kind of scary. That stuff should be freezing. Besides that, my last trip I went to New York City. Spent most of the time working on a couple of V70 T5Ms and their US 98 models, European maybe 97 models, right before the ETMs came in effect. I went out there to do a steering rack, um, check, try to troubleshoot and fix a climate control issue, and a couple other things. I had a couple of parts with me, but the main thing was that steering rack. I get out there, and man, you know, I guess the stuff hit the fan. I don't like working on people's cars and not having them safe. You know, that's the most important thing. And there was stuff that had gone wrong with the cars and stuff that was just busted from other people doing crazy things, fixing things. So we made a list, and I went down the list as best I could. And the list was long. So I went there to check the suspension. Oh, do a couple of headliners. That's what the other thing was I was supposed to do. If you take your car to an upholstery shop, a headliner job normally somewhere around, I'd say $1,000, what most people tell me. Sad thing about it is, if those shops are not very careful with your stuff and taking those cars apart, they'll bust a lot of stuff in there, and they're not going to fix it. They're not going to be able to fix it. So it's nice if you find somebody that knows what you're doing, or just if you could wait till I could come do it. But if you hire me to come to your location, I got to travel a few hours, may have to stay overnight. Headliner job with very cheap headliner material from Hobby Lobby cost you about $550, somewhere around there, between $450 and $550. If I'm at your location already doing something, that same headliner job may only cost you $300 because you don't have travel and those kind of expenses that I incur getting to do your job. So that's that. So we went there to do headliner, check suspension, and I think on this one, replace some trim in the car. And this is the list that we ended up with. I don't know if you guys can see that, but these are the things that we ended up seeing wrong with the car and doing. The things that are highlighted. That's the first page. Then we had a second page. The name is covered to protect the owner, but this is the stuff that I just seen without really looking hard that needed to be done just to give the car mechanical restoration. So we did replace some safety items. So let me go over what we ended up doing there in a couple of days. We did the headliner. I inspected over the suspension. There was some stuff going on with the suspension. The A pillar on the driver's side, since we did the headliner, I had to pull that. That was cracked. So I repaired that with some epoxy. Both spring seats on this car were blown out. So we were able to get some spring seats from FCP and a few other parts and fix that. There was ground wires just broken on the car. I don't know. It's like somebody grabbed them and just tore them apart, or they could have rotted off. So one of the ground wires, the main one from the body to the transmission, kind of from the battery post to the transmission, was broke. Just totally broke off. It still is. I didn't have time to fix that. Car was running. Figured it got to have a ground from somewhere else to be working. So I hope the other one don't break. But the ground wire from the cylinder head, the passenger side, to the body of the car, I was able to fix that one. The transmission torque mount was missing a bolt. That thing's only got 2 nuts and 2 bolts on there. One of those were missing, so I put a bolt in there. And that mount was torn out. It was blown out. It was bad. So I replaced that. I also did something with the rear bumper. Oh, the bumper is riveted to the, I guess, fender skirt back there. I put rivets in there. I replaced the center console wood trim. I replaced one of the rear seats where the seat is folded down the bottom. You pick up this little strap that unlatches it so you can fold it forward. I replaced one of those. The parking brake handle boot was loose, so I resecured that because the parking brake wasn't working. So I repaired the parking brake. One side was fine, the other side, the shoes was worn out for some reason, and they were out of adjustment, and the cable was bad on the driver's side. So we got a cable and replaced that. So that's the main thing we did to one car. Another car, we replaced the steering rack. We adjusted the parking brakes. We replaced the boots on the steering rack. We found out there was a couple of things missing from the steering rack on that car. So that steering rack had been replaced before. So I did have one of the brackets. The steering rack has, on the front wheel drive cars, has a mount on the back of the engine that is supported by the steering rack. Well, under that part of the steering rack is a brace that braces the steering rack on the subframe so that the engine movement doesn't bow the steering rack and probably destroy the steering rack. That may be why their steering rack was destroyed. But I fortunately brought one of those with me, so we put that on there. It's missing a couple of brackets that hold the lines. The driver's door, the light that lights up when you open the door, and the door was messed up, so we had one of those, put one of those on. And it had wrong hardware on the steering rack joints, so we had to correct steering rack hardware and a few other things. And we did a headliner in that car as well. I tried to troubleshoot the climate control, not giving defrost. The scanner claims nothing's wrong with the system. Sometimes when you get that message, there's a rod that goes through those flaps inside the blend door motors, and man, those things just, they don't work. They're messed up. They break and crack, and the motor could be turning, but it's not turning that flap. So I didn't want to tear into that and start swapping parts out when I didn't have time or really the parts to do that. So I'm gonna have to catch that on a rebound, unfortunately. I know it's tough going through winter with no defrost, but fortunate for them, they do have other vehicles. And I didn't want to break it so the system totally didn't work. So can somebody leave a comment so I can know that you guys are hearing me, and that if you leave a comment, I can see it pop up on the screen and answer it if anybody's got questions. I don't know why this live is not letting me see comments. That makes sense. Comments should be like steadily here. Oh, well, there it is. There was a button that came up on the screen, and people are leaving comments. All right, so let's see here. Robert probably has dash pads for sale. All right, let's go back. Let me read some of the comments since I hadn't seen any comments in about 10 minutes, and there's a lot there. Yeah, I made it back, got back about 10 minutes later than I thought, and then I decided, well, I better eat something since I hadn't eaten dinner. And thanks, you guys, for joining. Bet you and the family having a happy new year, Merry Christmas. Thank you very much. Guess I should move that finger. Huntsville, Alabama. Man, you guys probably got decent weather now that the storms have gone by. Hey, Sal. Hey, Mr. Mark. Mita is in Texas, spending time with her mom. I'm planning to go down there soon to join them. Um, the weather there is nicer than it is here. And she got down there, gosh, was it yesterday or the day before? I think it was yesterday. And hopefully I'll be down there in about 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, because I want to be down there before Christmas, spend Christmas with them. Mark, hey, man, how are you? Maryland. Polo, how are you? 80 degrees in San Diego. That's what I'm talking about, man. I'm looking forward to heading that way after New Year's. I'm going to head out, take care of this car in, what's that place called? Lincoln, Nebraska. Then I'm headed to Albuquerque. Then I'm headed to Vegas. Then I'm headed to Southern Cal. So I'm not really sure how that will work out. And we'll see. Let me find out where I was on these comments. Fuel door release actuators for S70s. I actually do. I'd have to call me to ask where it is. But they're getting tricky to find. I pulled one from a car not long ago because I knew people were needing those things. So you need to send me like a text or an email so I can make sure that I don't forget to get that for you. Let's see where we are here. All right. I sent a text to your cell number, a list of items needed. Biggest, the blower motor. You have any used one along with a power switch? I do have a blower motor. How long ago did you send that text message? If you send me a text message and I do not reply, I somehow didn't get it. I always reply somehow letting you know I got your text message. And if you ask for a part or something, you might want to put in the email to remind me to make sure I don't forget to get you that part. And when I reply and I'm not where I can grab that part, I usually tell people, remind me in a couple days when I get home so I can grab that part for you. Or I'll forget. I'm kind of overwhelmed with stuff like that. Requests, then I find stuff for people, then I contact them, they no longer need it. So I would say remind me every few days or weekly until I get that to you. And if you find it somewhere else, just send me a message, say, hey, Robert, I don't need that anymore. I found it. And well, I do my best to try to help you. And if I'm where I got the part, I send it immediately. You know, there's not a problem. I just replaced the blower motor in Lemonade. And 2 days later, the brand new blower motor started smoking. It's an aftermarket blower motor. I figured, you know what? I'm going to put an aftermarket one in there so I can test it, tell people how long it lasts. We had to shut the thing off. We was afraid it was going to catch fire while we were driving down the highway. So then there's that. Started working fine the next day, and it's been working fine since. But it's only been in there for a week, so we'll see how that goes. And I'll let you guys know. Power switches for door mirrors. Alright, so You need this blower motor, I'm assuming, for an 850. Power switches for door mirrors in upper Wisconsin. All right, that's fine. Somebody put, okay, that shoe with a 94 wagon manual. Okay, cool. I can't read the foreign writing, so you might want to type that in the translator, copy the English, and paste it. I can't read that on the fly. Minus 30 already up there. Ooh, 28 now. I think here right now it's like 42 degrees. Mark has a 96 850R that he just put a replacement engine in. Nice. I'll never give her up. I inherited her from a father that drove her until he was 93 years old. That's your car that you need. That need him for. That must be the 960. Man, I love those 960s. Mr. Mark, buying an 850 from the UK manual, right-hand drive, shipping over is cheaper than tracking one from California to New York City. Really? Man, you know, right-hand drive cars are tempting. They seem nice, but man, I probably wouldn't do that. You got to be really careful driving a right-hand drive car here in the U.S. Most of the ones back in the 90s that were coming in from Japan, they would get destroyed within a year of being in the U.S. for people that was trying to drive them daily. So it's a weird position there. You got to be extra careful. And I have three wagons that I'm about to flip. I don't know if that means anything to anybody. I do have equipment to make one of them manual. I got a T5R wagon that I can make manual, and I have a 96 T5 wagon that I can make manual. And what's the other one? I think I got another wagon too. Yeah, I got two more wagons floating around somewhere. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Cool. Yep, we did. We got John's white 850. John, man, I need to get up there and test drive that car. I guess when we do the dash or something like that, I like to take that thing for a ride because I just didn't have time to do it when we got it together. Yeah, I wouldn't buy it right hand. Yeah, I got the release door. You just send me a text or call me about that. I still need translator going on here. Do do do. So far, so good for Billy T. Also, a rear tail light, left, right side needs to be used. One for each side. 940, a 94 wagon. Those 850 tail lights with the amber lens in there are kind of hard to find in good condition. I think I might have one or two, but most people are going to the V70 tail lights because they look better, they're better made, and they don't rot out like the 850 ones do. And it's just hard to find a good 850 one. I immediately switch all my cars to the V71. It shows up backwards on the video. Oh, really? The mirror is messed up on the list. Well, you guys get the picture. I go there to do four things, and there's like 62 things need to be done. Yeah, salvage yard hitting. Dang, John said he's hit about 40 salvage yards this year. He's probably hit as many as I have. Do, 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 do. Yeah, John is keeping them dash panels. I actually have one for you. Um, headed down through Dallas, and I may have two that I can spare. So that's the primary reason I bought the cars. Hey Charles, how you doing, my friend? Let's see. Yep, I do have a couple of dash pads. We got you 5x5. I hear you. Got two dash pads, but I need the panel because the gauge cover is cracked. I don't understand that. The gauge panel is cracked. What's that mean, Mark? 6 degrees in Maine tonight. Winter is here. Do, 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 do. All right. I'm getting up here. I'm up to the 9:36 time when I have a car is referred by you. LeBron. What's up with LeBron? Who's looking for LeBron? Yeah, these blower motors aftermarket, man. I hope this one works out. Um, Mark said he drive a right-hand drive car. About to do I have one of those 16 valve um, cylinder heads. Man, let me tell you something, Robert Blacksmith. There is no way I would start a car that has a timing belt that's over 20 years old. That's some scary stuff. It's really sad when people send me a message telling me that their 42-year-old car has a broken timing belt yesterday because it only had 30,000 miles and it wasn't time to change it. Man, any timing belt that's over 15 years old is time to be changed. Let me tell you, I think I seen somewhere in one of these owner's manuals where it was saying 7 years, 70,000 miles. And man, people running timing belts 10, 15 years old. It's just scary to me because if it breaks on that 16 valve engine, you're done. Uh, I don't even know if you can get all the valves and stuff you need for that engine, for that cylinder head. I have a good one sitting around. At a couple years ago, those cylinder heads used to sell for $1,000, which is really not a bad price for a cylinder head. But a lot of Volvo owners, man, they like buying stuff for $12. So trying to sell them a cylinder head for 1,000, I pulled it because I didn't want to see it get crushed. And I said, hey, maybe I'll make a few bucks, supplement my income, kind of my side hustle with some parts. Not all, but some. I have a right side amber tail light for an 850. That's awesome. You guys get together. The clock face is backwards too. My Volvo clock face. I guess my phone is just acting like an iPhone. It's stupid. Guess I could flip it, use the back camera, watch it on my computer, make sure it's straight. Responsible for one of T5 belongs to my widowed mother-in-law. The other is a base model that my sons drive. Got to keep them rolling down the road. 91,960. 16 valve stopped. Starter motor runs. Spark plugs. Fuel pump. Oh, the 960. The starter motor runs. There is spark. Fuel pumping. But it doesn't start. Any idea? Yeah. That car has a combustion engine. It needs 5 things to run. When we turn the key, we activate the starter. The starter starts rotating the crank, and the crank moves other parts. So you need spark, fuel, timing, compression, and air. need those 5 things to be proper for that car to start and run. So you just got to go down the line. You check spark, you have spark. You got to check compression. Make sure you got good compression. You got to make sure fuel is making it to the cylinders. You might have fuel pressure at the rail, but it may not be opening the injectors to go into the cylinders. Got to make sure you got that. Then you check compression and you check timing. Make sure you hadn't busted a timing belt. God forbid that happen. And then you check the air, mass airflow sensor type thing. So that's what you got to check to get your car running. I'd do it for you if I was there, but I'm not. It's real basic, real simple. Somebody should be able to figure that out for you. I'm going to have to get back and figure out. All right, I'm catching up. And if you search my channel or send me a message, I can send you the video that tells you how to check those 5 things. Let's see if you can. I had the opportunity to drive 2 T5Rs and never able to fix one of them while driving the car. It just turned off. Spent a lot of money trying to find the issue. The dealership never did and sold it. Yuck. And those cars are simple. I don't know why it's so tough. I had a tough one the other day. The first one that I had scratching my head. I kind of went at it, I think, kind of wrong. I followed the owner's troubleshooting and the things that he had done instead of just going my path. We had a cam sensor code, but the actual problem was a collective grounding issue. So the car wasn't getting sparked. We crank it, and when we let off the key, when we gave up, it would spark like one time. We pulled the spark plug out, put it on the cylinder head, crank. As soon as we cut it off, boom, one spark would come up. And we had a hard time figuring it out. Now, when it started, he started having longer and longer cranks, and then he would have times where it just wouldn't start. Crank a bunch, and it would start intermittently. So when I got there, it would start about 1 out of 20 times. So I finally decided, since we had a crank sensor code and we knew the crank sensor was good, to try to chase the ground wires for the crank sensor. And looking at the schematic, excuse me, there's a couple of things that share the grounding point. So you got 3 wires running to one grounding point. I think that on the crank sensor, it was the ECT and like EGR valve or something. And then there's another ground wire under the intake manifold that had 3 other things going to it. So I pulled the intake manifold, I pulled those grounds off of the block, I cleaned the block with a wire wheel, the ground wire tip on every place I could find a ground wire under there. Put the intake manifold back on. I cleaned every ground on the transmission, the grounds on the engine on the back of the cylinder head. And then I added 2 more grounds. I went to the auto parts store and I bought a 4-gauge wire that had ends on it. I cut the wire and I bought a couple of ends and I crimped the ends on the wire and I added a ground from the block to the transmission in 2 different places. And after I put everything back together, boom, fire it right up every time. So another thing that happened was 2 or 3 of the transmission bolts had worked themselves loose. One of them was hanging out about 1 inch, just backed out of the transmission. And 2 other ones weren't torqued anymore. So I re-torqued them all 5 foot-pounds tighter than the spec. I think the spec on those bolts are 36. I tightened them all to 40 to try to re-engage the ground on that. Now, we had done a manual swap on that car, I don't know, a year and a half prior. And it was fine. We torqued everything up. It was fine. I didn't know that those bolts sometimes work themselves out. When I was talking to my mechanic about the issue, Alan down there in Kissimmee, Florida, Orlando area, he said I might have to pull the transmission and re-clean that surface of the engine and the transmission and put it back together to get that car to start. And that did not sound fun. Now, I'm not against pulling transmissions to get cars running, but I really didn't want to do it then because we also needed a fork clip spacer for that car, and I couldn't find mine. When me to realize how important that was, she found those things when we got back home. So I'd rather pull that transmission with that part so we can install that. So we have about 3 or 4 of them left that haven't sold since I posted my video about that. But anyway, that can be tough. But that car, like I said, it didn't have spark. So the cam sensor code was on that thing. Joe, I have a 99XC that I'm trying to find a small transmission leak on. Every week or so, I notice a drip of oil on the bottom of the oil temp sensor in the area above. Somebody left a comment and it flipped my comments. The bottom of the oil temp sensor and the area above is wet. Have you seen this before? Normally when I see that, I don't know why you mentioned a transmission leak and say that, but somebody used a aftermarket, normally URO or Rheens part on the oil trap box, the bottom piece that goes between the box and the block. And man, I've seen those rubber pieces on those aftermarket ones melt, and they're like bubble gum. I could reach my finger up there and pull rubber out of those things. Those things leak a lot. So chances are that oil's coming from that box, and you would have to pull it to get it right. So I hope that makes sense. Sorry to hear you dealing with that. Let me see where I'm at here. Man, I wish these comments were better managed on this thing than they are. All right, Mark. The part of the dash where the gauge cluster clips, the sun baked the plastic. I don't know if you're saying that the edge that of the dash that goes over the instrument cluster is deformed, or are you saying the clips on top of the cluster? You know, that really wouldn't. I don't know. You'd have to send me a picture showing me what's wrong with that. I just don't understand. Never had that happen to me. Then are you back near? When are you back near San Antonio? I will be back in San Antonio area before Christmas. 7 days, 8 days. So if you need something there, or you just want to connect to say hi, let me know. We get together, meet somewhere, hang out for a couple of hours. If you need help fixing something, I can help you fix something. I'm planning on having one of my Volvos down there with all my tools. So hopefully I can find my transmission part for Panther and fix my transmission on Panther and take that down there. I don't know if all you guys know this or not, but somebody test drove Panther and wrecked the transmission in it. So I need to replace that transmission, but I do not want to do that until I find my LSD part, my traction concepts part, so I can put that in the transmission that I'm going to fix. So I'm hoping I find that tomorrow so I can work on getting that put in a diff so I can go ahead and pull that transmission within the week, replace it, and have a LSD and Panther with a good transmission. So that's my dream. All I want for Christmas is Panther back on the road. Whatever. I had a diesel S70. I regret selling it. 300,000 miles going strong. We'll look for a similar one around here. Hey Robert, I have an ABS light on and off in the S70 NA. Today I did hear a strange sound that seemed to come directly from the module itself. Then the light kicked on. Man, just replace the module. That's a built broke situation. If I did another t-shirt with all of the built broke problems on it, that would be one, that ABS module. So you got to get one that's rebuilt by one of the rebuilders. Matty Mo does them. Swedish Car Part does them. A lot of places does them, and I think they're doing a good job doing it. And hey, get that thing replaced, and if that doesn't fix it, scan it, figure out what the codes are, and chase it that way. But if the module's making noise and the module hadn't been replaced, I'd start there. Mr. Mark, my ABS light had been on for years. Yeah, need to get that fixed. I made quite a few small fixes thanks to your videos, Robert. I couldn't believe it when I fixed the AC compressor with the zip ties as you taught. Anyway, thanks a lot, Robert. Wish you the best. Man, that is one of the best fixes that these cars have. If you don't do it that way, you end up spending $1,000 on AC compressor or somebody trying to shim the clutch or something. It's crazy. And that works for 3 years or so. So, I mean, the most people's life that they keep a car is 3 years. So there's a couple things that you can save a lot of money on these cars. One is that zip tie, or putting those ties on the ABS, I'm sorry, not the ABS, but the AC compressor. Excuse me. Need a cough drop or something around here. Number two is the fix for the battery draining problem. When those battery connectors that Volvo put on there 30 years ago goes bad, and you need to cut that end off, pull back a little plastic, put a $6-7 battery terminal end cable on there and reconnect it. That's a $10 fix for, they want to replace your alternator for that kind of stuff and your starter and all that jazz. That saves you $1,000. The other thing is these stupid oil cooler lines that are not that effective, but people are paying $1,000 to get the Volvo lines replaced with Volvo lines, and they're leaking in a year and a half. It just doesn't make sense. Just block that thing off. I normally have the oil cooler block off plates in my possession, even if I don't have them on my website. Right now, there's maybe one listed on my website, but people put aftermarket ones on there. I've known people to blown their engine fooling with them aftermarket oil cooler lines. They're going down the highway, they're playing around or whatever. They're 3,000 RPMs, which is normal, especially in a manual car. Their oil pressure is 70 psi. The dang oil cooler line comes apart. It dumps all the oil in 30 seconds. You'll dump 6 quarts of oil at 70 psi. And you don't get off the road in time. You don't turn the key off in time. And then you just keep driving. And then that engine starts knocking. It's over. Once you hear the noise, it's over. The t-shirt that I'm going to post next on my website is a tow is cheaper than an engine. It just is, Can't wait to get my t-shirt machine. Man, I'm only at 2,000 out of my 7 that I need for that. So I need to start saving my pennies for that a little better. Kind of lost focus with a bunch of other expenses that come up with fixing cars and stuff like that, not working as much as I should. But I'm getting back on track. I really want to get that thing so I can get my shirts printed. I think I'm also going to make a Robert DIY t-shirt out of my stickers. Let me grab one of them stickers. Mark encouraged me to make. This is so cheesy. It's backwards. I don't know if it being upside down and backwards would be any better. But yeah, it looks backwards to me too. Okay. So this is the full size version. I have some that's a little smaller. If you don't know it, this is the IG Instagram icon. That's the YouTube icon, and that's the TikTok icon. So I'm running the TikTok channel that'll probably be shut down January 16th, they say. That's the new date for getting the Russians or whoever runs TikTok, China, out of our, off our phones and whatever. Whatever. Shoot, I think my antivirus that I use on my computer is Russian based. I need to confirm with John Wart which antivirus to get back on and get this stuff off my computer and get some nice, strong American blooded antivirus on my computer. I don't know if it matters. Anyway. Hate having lights on. Yeah, I don't like having lights on either. I got an ABS light on in Lemonade, and they say it's from the little plunger doohickey that goes on the back of the brake booster. Man, pressure switch or something. Has some electronics in there, and the soldering goes bad in there. But it doesn't affect my cruise. Gives me an ABS light, doesn't affect my cruise. What does affect my cruise is the ambient temperature. And the threshold of that is coming down. A year ago, if it was 80 degrees or less, my cruise worked fine. If it was 80 degrees or more, my cruise didn't work well. I would set it at 75, it would hold at 60. Like, why 15 miles an hour below what I set it at? Now, since it's winter, it works every time. I push the button, bam, it works. So I don't understand what's wrong. And I don't think it's a relay. Maybe the pump is bad. Maybe I need to replace the pump. The pump gets hot and quits working effectively. And when the temperature's cold enough, it keeps the pump cold. I don't know. If somebody knows why my cruise control is temperature sensitive, I would appreciate the insight. I just hadn't figured it out yet. All right, what we got next? Transcooler line. Transcooler line is all the way on the driver's side. That's nowhere near your oil pressure switch. Most of your stuff leaking on the transmission side of your car is going to be a cam seal. Pull off the distributor cap and rotor, look at that thing, pull off the cam sensor, look at it. If there's a drop of oil on it, replace the seal. Did the timing belt jump? Does it have actual fuel pressure? Also, the injectors getting their signal, carefully spraying starter fluid. Yeah. Also doing my PCB tomorrow on my 98 NA. Any advice beyond your video? No. I have no advice beyond my video. So my goal in making my DIY videos, if you can't get through it with the video, it's not a DIY video. It's a tip. So when I make the videos and mix them together for publish, my goal is to make that video so that a 14-year-old young man could watch the video, get the tools from somewhere, and complete the task at hand. I have no desire for you to not be able to get through the job. So I post a video. My policy when I started this 13 years ago, 14 years, I don't know. I started like 2013, so going on 12 years. My goal is if I post a video and I get 3 questions about something that wasn't clear in the video within 1,000 views, I didn't do a good job making the video. So I would fix it so that you wouldn't have any questions. I have no desire for you to fire that video up, start that job, and not be able to finish it. So no, I don't have any other tips. The tips I got is don't use aftermarket parts on your PCV system, or you'll probably be back in there within a year. So it doesn't bother me that people ask that. I get that a lot, but a thing in my brain goes off. I have somewhere in the neighborhood of 230,000 subscribers. And I used to get 25,000 views a day. Now my views are probably down to, I don't know, I haven't checked, but my guess they're probably 12,000 a day. And if everybody that watched the Fix It video asked me for more information on a complete video, I wouldn't be able to answer anybody. There'd be so many questions there. It's like I couldn't even try. I had one video go viral for about a week. It was getting normal views, I don't know, 60 a day or something for about a month and a half, 2 months. And then one day that thing got 30,000 views. The next day it got 45,000 views. The next day it got 60,000 views. Had 180,000 views in like 4 days. And the video didn't have a thing in there that would make you want to ask any questions or nothing. But it touched a lot of nerves. And people was running up the comments. Well, I was on the road, driving, getting somewhere, fixing something, driving. When I finally stopped, like 2 days into that viral action, there was so many comments there, I didn't realize it. I thought, there's probably 20 comments. I'll answer them, and that'll be that for the day. That's what I normally do, about 20 a day. So I popped open the comments, and I was going through them like it was normal. And I hit about 40 or 50. I was like, man, I got more comments. I'm running out of time. I didn't check to see how many was there. I just figured I'll do the last 10 tomorrow. Tomorrow came, there was another 4,000 comments. And like the third day when I couldn't get through the comments, I said, wait a minute, let me see how many comments. Started scrolling up the page. I was like, oh my God, there's no way. There's no way. So I just abandoned the comments on that particular video, which pushed other comments and questions, probably buried them. So there's probably, I don't know, 4,000 comments that have never been answered and will never get answered, because there's no way for me to go back there and dredge through that stuff. So I appreciate everybody watching. I will answer any question I can, but asking questions, one of my common replies is, have you watched the video? I took 2-3 hours doing the job. I turned an 1.5-hour job into 3.5 hours so I can film every step in it. I paid close attention to things that could go wrong and went wrong with me. I document and recorded that and embarrassed myself with sharing that information with you. Don't do this or you'll break it. Ask me how I know. That means I broke it. Tell you how to do every step of the way. Then I come back and I download the clips off of my cell phone onto my computer. Then I spend another 2-3 hours doing that. So all in all, this 12-minute video that you can watch at fast speed took me, to be honest, 4, 5, 6, maybe 6 hours to make. So I took 6 hours of my time to make a 12-minute video for you to watch and see how to do something. And then you don't want to watch it. You want to watch 3 minutes of it because you got ADD or something. You want to switch it, ask me to give you the cliff notes on the rest of the video. Dude, take 12 minutes and watch the video that I took 4 to 6 hours to make for you. I mean, good Lord. And then they tell me they appreciate, hey, Robert, I appreciate you making that video, but I didn't watch it. I need you to answer 4 questions. Watch the video, man. So I often do play, hey, did you watch the video? And watch the video. Because, again, if 12,000 people would send me a question every day saying, what's in the video? I wouldn't be able to brush my teeth. I wouldn't have time, So please do watch the video. And I'm glad you found the video. I hope it helps. I appreciate your support. And I really appreciate the people that show their appreciation by sending me random tips. It's probably once a week, somebody will send me $5 or $10 and say, hey, I used this video. This video saved me $800. Here's $5. Man, thanks. I can add that to a few $5 and put a couple gallons of gas in my car. Man, $5 is a gallon of gas around here. It gets me 22 miles in my car. Because for some reason my car is getting bad gas mileage. Panther gets 26 miles to the gallon. Lemonade's getting 22, 23. It's like, what's up with that? I think it might have a bad mass airflow sensor. I'm going to change that. I think both of my CV axles I put in that car are gone bad. So I probably should replace CV axles before I hit the road in that thing again. But I never intended on running Lemonade around like a workhorse. Unfortunately, that's what's happened. Mita doesn't know how to drive a stick. We want her to be able to get around when we go from town to town. If she needs to run an errand to get something, she needs to do this or that. She'd be able to drive a car, not have a Panther with us. But, hopefully she'll have a change of heart and learn how to drive a stick soon. Because I'm about to convert that thing to a stick anyway. Then there's going to be 2 cars she's not going to be able to drive. Anyway, watch the video, man. I put everything in there you need. If you watch the video and there's something in there you don't need, you don't understand, send me a message. I'd be glad to answer. All right, so I got the FCP Euro kit, extra vacuum hoses, throttle cleaner. What do I clean the ports with and the block, man? All that's in the video. Just do what the video says, you'll be fine. I don't know what this is. Also, the ABS light, I had on that P2 for almost 7 years. All right, Mark, I'm in the process of changing the front struts, and your video on it was eye-opening on how easy it is. Man, I agree. It's, don't be afraid of those strut spring compressors. Do use them. Don't be afraid of them. They'll be fine. Sam Nail. Robert, thanks for the live chat. 96 960 wagon with low mileage, 115,000, but the rear suspension is clunking sound. No replacement parts available. Any idea what to do? Man, beg somebody to let you know when they find a 960 in the salvage yard. And hope like heck that car has good parts back there. So figure out exactly what's bad in that suspension. If you send me a message and don't mind sending me reminders weekly, I'll let you know when I find a 960 in the yard, and I'll do what I can to get you parts on it. I've shipped parts for 960s all the way to Libya. I was really surprised at that. I thought all those rich folks just threw all these old cars in the trash and always drove new Audis or something. I was really surprised. Somebody was driving a 960 over there and had me ship them parts. I took pictures of it. You know, man, a lot of people don't realize how um, challenging it is getting you guys used parts. Now, I do it. I call myself a fool for it because, like, okay, so I just took a steering rack out to New York. Took me 5 hours to get the steering rack. I had to drive to the next town, Louisville, Kentucky. There's the only one that had a steering rack close to me. Get the steering rack. Spent a tank of gas getting there and back, and then paid for the steering rack. If I charged for my hours, time spent getting used parts, for the part, and for uh, getting it to you, it'd be twice the cost of a new part, probably, you know, or the cost of a new part. Now, is a used part better than a new part? Unfortunately, in some cases, it is. Like, if I needed to put a rack in one of my cars, I would not put a new rack in my car. I don't trust these things. Uh, put two racks in Tony's car. He got a rack, it was leaking out the box. Sent it back or whatever he did with it. Got another rack, put it in. The rack was locking up the steering. He's making a right turn to just lock up. Won't go no more. He had to stop the car, get it go back, and then turn the corner. So I gave him the rack out of Batman. Probably had 400,000 miles on it. It's working great. It's like, you know, I use racks better than the new one. I don't want a warranty. I want it to work. You know, so man, if anybody's got any personal questions, they can ask those as well. I don't mind doing that here. I don't mind you guys get to know me more, and I'll keep being on this live until you guys get tired of me. I'm having a decent time. We're hanging out. I probably need something warm to drink so my throat can clear up. So let me go get something to drink and find a cough drop or something to hopefully clear my throat and continue. So give me 2, 3 minutes. I'll be right back. Here, see. Well, watch this sticker while I'm gone. I'm back. I still got 26 people on. Woohoo! 27. All right, let me see where I'm at on these questions here. Couldn't find any cough drops. I found some mints to try to clear my throat with. Do 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 do. Uh-oh. Change my. Look like I'm getting behind on comments. Do 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 do. I don't know where transmission oil temp sensor is. Do do do. All right, last comment I think I'm on 953 was about the 960 rear suspension. Send me a message, remind me weekly. Don't feel like you're bothering me. The thing with me getting some of these parts that are hard to find is when I get to a junkyard, I find them. Then I need to be able to find your contact information so that I can send you a message saying, hey, I found it. I need some money. I'm not allowed to buy parts anymore for people that hadn't sent me a deposit. I got too many parts here that people told me they needed. And when I found them, purchased them, and contacted them, they said they no longer needed it. I'm stuck with it. I don't have a budget for it. Too many parts, too many people. Yep, ABS issues. I have a 95 850 a couple of days ago. I actually put the gear shift in park while the car was moving. Since then, the arrow is flashing on the dash. Transmission is shifting fine. How to stop the flashing? I would probably read and clear the codes on that. That should stop it. I don't think you broke anything. The parking pond is the only thing that would be broken on that. And if you put the car in park and it doesn't roll down the hill, the parking pond is fine. That's just probably some freak coincidence that the transmission complained through the P&P switch and through a code that needs to be cleared. I hope that helps. Maybe clean the P&P switch. Now, I have a Volvo brand new P&P switch in a package. I acquired it some time ago. Haven't used it. I probably should have put that thing in Lemonade because the aftermarket when I put in Lemonade didn't last 10,000 miles before it was acting up. Also, at Swedish Car Parts and maybe other places, they sell rebuild kits for the P&P switch. You open up the switch carefully, you change these contact things in there, you put it back together, and you're probably better doing that with a Volvo OEM P&P switch than you would be with one of these aftermarket ones, man. That part sucks as aftermarket. It's just not right. So let me get back over here. Do. Changed the front sensor so far. Didn't want to do the back. I hear the error sounds a few times. I don't know what that's about. The module maybe. By oil temp sensor, I mean transmission oil. I don't know where a transmission oil temp sensor is on these cars. You know more about that than I do. A drop of red transmission oil on the bottom of the trans oil temp sensor. Maybe that sensor's leaking. You might have to change that sensor. I've seen that happen with little screw-in sensor things. They just start leaking and you have to replace them. But that could be it. Hey, Santos, thank you. Man, I hope we have a Merry Christmas too. I don't think we're all going to be together because I think Elizabeth will be here somewhat alone. She was the only child. She could deal with it, but I hate for her to be here alone. I plan on being in Texas with Meet and her family, our family there. So that's what the plan is. I offered to help Elizabeth get to Texas and back, But man, you know, these airliners and other powers that be, they thrive on people's emotions. Oh, you want to spend the holidays together? Sure, we'll help you do that for double the cost, you know. I can usually fly to South Texas with a 14-day buffer, round trip, 250, 60 bucks, something like that. During Christmas time, that's like $580. And I know it's going up. I didn't even look in the last week. I checked a week ago, you know, contemplating flying, but I got to drive. So I'll just take me a siphon tool and drive down there. I think you can still get all the genuine Volvo PVC parts for these P80 cars. Man, if you had a Euro one last 6, 7 years, you are blessed. Those are the parts that I initially started really disliking. That I wanted to file a class action lawsuit against them for selling crap that's supposed to last 30,000 miles at least, not lasting 8 months before it started rotting away. I don't get it. Yes, Mark, do send me a picture. Text message is best for pictures. Oh my God, people still sending me videos. I will admit the video quality is a lot better than it was a year or three ago. But just the fact that I put on my website 600 times and made 900 videos about please not, don't text me video, people still do it. It's disrespectful. And I still get some that I can't tell nothing that's going on in the video. It's just like this blurry blob of smashed chicken in the driveway. Like, what do you want, man? Upload it somewhere, send me a link. Please. Please. Somebody retracted a message, Mark. I don't think the PVC clamps are an issue. Aftermarket, man, you put zip ties on those things. It's fine. I don't know what time it is, but my message I'm on is from 10 o'clock. So I don't know if I'm catching up or losing track. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I really am, you know. Thank God I'm still healthy. I don't know if you guys noticed or not, and I put it in one of my videos. You might have seen it. If you're here, you've probably seen it. People that watch the videos over on Patreon, I call them my board of directors. But I was doing a rear delta link, man. That tool. Hold on. Let's message in Elizabeth. I'm her designated driver today. Do. All right, let me see where we're at here. So, I'm healthy. Oh, yeah, I was talking about doing that manual swap. At Delta Link, man, that tool sucks. Couldn't get the part out, couldn't get it in. I was wrestling. I don't know if I was trying to get it out or in. But I had the trailing arm braced up by a piece of wood. Gave me about 6 inches or so to work. I was leaning in there trying to do something, and the piece of wood kicked out, and the trailing arm slowly came up and trapped my hand between the trailing arm and the bottom of the car. There was enough pressure on there that I didn't want to rip my hand out and rip the skin off of my hand, but it wasn't crushing any bones. So I'm trying to maneuver around. I'm on the ground, not on the left. I'm on the ground trying to scoot around so I could push the trailing arm down with the other hand, but I couldn't get enough force on it to push it down and get my hand out. I'm squirming around like a fish on the bank, and Minka looks over. She goes, "You okay?" "Nope, my hand is stuck. You got to come get me. Grab the pry bar." So she comes over with, I don't know, a crescent wrench or something that wasn't a pry bar because she doesn't know what a pry bar is. So now I got to calmly explain to her uh, what a pry bar is and go get her. So, man, that kind of was a mess. And she got the pry bar, pried it down. She was freaking out and got my hand out of there. It was a little sore, but not busted up. So, those Delta links back there suck. Other than that, I'm doing great. Do, 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 do you have a Patreon to donate to or something? Yeah, I have a Patreon. My viewers pleaded with me to get that set up. I got that set up. It's been up about 4 years. I think I got like 120 donors on there. And and yeah, so I do have a Patreon. Some people just go to my YouTube channel, click on the About button. There's several links. There's a link to my Cash App, link to my PayPal. You can send me Zelle. You can send me Venmo. Robert DIY, my phone number, my email address. Email address rspiwin@gmail.com. So, or send me a text message. I'll send you a easiest way. Whatever's easy for you. I appreciate it. Appreciate your support. I got a message from Elizabeth. She wants me to come get her from this Christmas party. So I'm going to shut it down, but it's going to take me about an hour to get her and come back. I'll come back, answer some more of these questions off the new live. I'll see the questions on my computer, and we can pick this up in about an hour or so. I'll be back. Thanks for being here. Do, 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 do. I don't know how to shut this down. Here we go.